BJ O'Neill here with the Business Coaching Success Podcast. So glad you're here, where I share with you strategies, tools, and tips to be able to grow your business coaching practice to six figures and beyond as a Christian business coach. Let's jump in. Hey, this is BJ O'Neill with Business Coach Mastery. Good to be with you again on another episode of the Business Coaching Success Podcast, talking about crafting your signature, the power of a strong personal brand in business coaching. Let me set the stage here, regardless if you're listening on one of the many platforms out there, Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, maybe you're watching on YouTube, glad that you're here. Regardless of where you're at, if you don't mind, especially on Apple and YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. It does a lot. And actually what it does is it really helps others who are just like you, who are looking to potentially either start and or grow, scale their business coaching practice. This lets them know about it. So you can be a part of the community. You can be a part of the team. Speaking of a team, somewhere in this email, if you got an email, I should say it that way, would love to have you join our platform on Circle, which we just have a group of men together who we're just learning together, learning how to grow, start a successful six-figure business coaching practice, all kinds of different training, community, you name it. Would love to have you there. You can click on a link there. If not, hit me up, BJ at bjoneil.com, and I would love to give you the link to give you access and go from there. Crafting your signature brand. What does that mean? How do I do it? What's the purpose? Why fool with it? Let me kind of set the stage a little bit. If you don't have a consistent voice to where someone, who's always, or I should say that they're engaging with you here, they see you over there, maybe you do, send out an email, whatever. If you don't have consistency, then you're losing the opportunity to pull it all together for it to really make sense, to where every time they see you, every time they hear you, it's like, boom, like this is what they're about. And so we often create what I call friction in the process as we're getting to know people. And that friction just makes everything complicated. But we speed that up and make it very clean when there is a very consistent, obvious brand to who you are and to what you do. I'm going to pull all this together. I'm going to give you 4 things to consider, to talk about, and even some research to do on your own as you kind of process what all this means. And I'm going to give you some just very real world examples. I'm going to really kind of share just my perspective and what I do when it comes to the word brand. It's all about, oftentimes in the beginning, being remembered and being heard, standing out. There's a lot of great people who say a lot of great things and they mean very well, but they're forgettable. How do you stop being forgettable? How are you remembered? Like, if somebody met you for the very first time and they walked away, would you leave them with something that was so inspirational and so powerful that they're like, man, that made an impact? They may not say those words, but it's how you made them feel. And that happens to kind of be, it could be the words that you say. It could be the energy that you bring. It could be your appearance. It could be something that you gave to them. I mean, brand means a lot of different things, and oftentimes a kind of an ecosystem of all those things. Your attire, your style, your verbiage, your again, items that you give to people, and so on. So it's important to understand that, if you've never thought about, well, I don't have a brand. Well, first of all, you can create one. Okay? And if you've never thought about this, you've never considered it, then no, you're probably not just going to create it overnight. Most of the most powerful things that's ever been created happens in succession and very small changes over time. So as you're just making little bitty changes here and there over time, that's the power. Very few things are sustainable that are kind of, are created overnight anyways, okay? But a brand really does reflect who you are. Now, I'm going to be vulnerable in this episode, meaning I'm going to share with you the things that I do, but they're an absolute direct reflection of who I am and what I do, period. It's all about creating uniqueness. It's all about creating about what you are. I'll give you a great example on a personal level. I specifically work with seasoned Christian men. All right? That's my whole wheelhouse, business and ministry. It's all that I know. I grew up in a minister's home. My mom is one of 5 girls. They all married preachers. The whole faith thing, that's just been my entire life. And so I extend that part of who I am in my life into the business world, educating and working with coaches. And I get the question all the time, or I have people who, man, I'm really surprised on the internet that you lead with this whole Christian thing. Yeah, it's just who I am. It's just who I've always been. I'm gonna stop now. What if they shut you down? Okay, I'll have to figure it out, like anything else in life. And so your brand really is an extension of you and what you do. I have a very good friend of mine. He's a coach in the mortgage space. He talks about personal branding all the time. And one of the things that it's just part of his style and personality, he wears in most of his keynote speaking engagements, he wears a paintball splattered jacket. And over the years, that's extended into his golf club bag is splat. I mean, everything he has is this whole his paintball thing. And it just kind of started, but then it's become a part of his reflective brand. He's a great guy. He's funny. He has a lot of humor. It's absolutely him, So you want to make sure that the brand is reflecting yourself. As you're developing your own personal brand, here's a few things to think about. Number 1, what is unique about you? I can't be you. You can't be me. One of the biggest mistakes people try to make, or not try to make, but one that they make when they're trying to develop their brand is they emulate someone else. It doesn't work. If you're familiar with Gary Vee, you probably are. Oh my goodness. Or Alex Hormozy. So many people are trying to emulate both of these guys. It's like, look, you're not them. You're never going to be them. And it's not that you can't, take some things as from inspiration, but you have to be you. I got back from a conference just a couple of days ago. We talked consistently about the term market dominating position. In other words, in your market, the market that you serve as a coach, that could be, for me, it's global, right? I don't serve just one market. And it's not just coaching. It is business coaching. It's not just for Christians. It's for Christian men. And so I'm working hard to serve the market for Christian men who are aspiring to be business coaches. So when we talk about what is my dominating position, what is it? And there's kind of several factors there. Essentially what we're saying is, what about you is so compelling, unique compared to everyone else? So I want you to think about in your local market. Most coaches typically serve their market. So let's say I live in Nashville, Tennessee. If I only serve Nashville, and I say, all right, market number 1, Nashville. Market number 2, and we kind of just, we drill down. And then if I'm going to, go to networking events, go to some, get to know people, whatever. And obviously there's other coaches in my community. What would be so compelling different for me? So different that it makes me very obvious compared to everybody else. And it makes a business owner to say, I'd be crazy not to do business with BJ. What's that going to look like? How is that going to set you apart from a compelling perspective? So number 1, you want to create some type of unique perspective. That could be the speak that you say. We'll call it an elevator pitch. That could also be your style. I am a dark t-shirt most of the time wearing individual, even to nice events. That's just what I do. I've made the decision. That's just that works for me. It kind of was born out of COVID, by the way, during the lockdowns. I just kind of started and never stopped. So this one was somewhat accidental. People often talk about my hair. I grade very early, and a lot of my family members did the same. And so I was like, well, Got to rock what you got, right? So just started working with what I had. Because of my son, my middle son, he is a sneakerhead. So kind of got into wearing sneakers all the time. So even at nice events, dark jeans, sneakers, business coat, t-shirt, like that's become the thing. And so that's become unique for BJ. That may not be and probably won't be. It's not comfortable for a lot of people just to wear a t-shirt all the time. And I get that. But what is it for you? You know what I mean? I have a friend of mine, part of his brand, he's much more sharp dresser than I am. And he, has monogramming on his cuffs. Everywhere you go, you're going to see something on him monogrammed. That's kind of part of his style, part of his brand. But you got to bring what's unique to you, right? You can Google that. You can look around, think about that. Again, make small, tiny adaptations over time. That's what's really going to be powerful. Storytelling. This is really big. I do believe this. I believe everybody could use as a part of their brand is the ability to tell stories. Let me give you an example. So if I'm a coach and I'm working with business owners, I'm constantly looking for stories to tell because stories sell. Write that down. I'm constantly looking for stories to tell because stories sell. Because so many people listening to a story or watching a movie or whatever, we typically imagine ourselves into the story. That's just a part of the psychology of how we're wired in most cases. So a couple of days ago, I'm in the Tampa airport flying home, and I'm buying a water bottle at the little thing, and the guy was in front of me. And he gets up there, and I guess he has an emblem on his keychain. I think it was a BMW or Mercedes emblem or whatever. And so the young man ringing him out said, "Oh man, that's really cool. Maybe one day I'll get one of those." And he goes, "Well, I sell cars, so let me know," kind of thing. He goes, "Oh, do you? I'm actually looking for a car." And so if I am a business coach and I'm talking to a business owner or even in front of a room of group, I'm going to tell a story like this as an analogy. Look, Jesus talked in parables all the time. That should give us a signal that stories matter. He was doing it. One of the best storytellers ever. Why shouldn't you as a part of your brand? Okay? So I would tell this story because every single day I'm looking for life's experiences that I can use back as a reflection of an analogy in story form. So the guy says, "I'm actually looking for a car." He goes, "Oh, are you really?" He goes, and the guy, the cashier says, "Do you have a card?" And the other man said, "Well, I'm traveling. No, I don't." Terrible decision. You should always be prepared to answer the call. Literally. Here's a guy saying, "I am in need of what you do." And so the man says, "Let me give you my number." And the guy at the cashier rips off a piece of a receipt paper and begins to write the man's name down and his number. Now, what are the chances? Think about it. What are the chances of that paper making it back home? Probably slim, because you're going to lose it. And so my point to you is that learn to tell stories, but learn to look for stories. You don't have to make stuff up. Like I can promise you on a daily basis, something comes up that you can use in story form. Consistency. As you develop your personal brand, you need to be consistent. Now, let me give you explain what this means. If you're aspiring to coach and you're not coaching yet, I don't want to overwhelm you and shoot over your head here. But over time, you want to place your message in a couple of different places, or a few, or a lot, depending on what you do. Sending out an email to people who are interested in your services, perhaps putting it on Instagram or Facebook, maybe Twitter or X, whatever we call that now. I'm not sure. But you want to be consistent with it. So, like for me, I'm very consistent. When this podcast episode goes out, it goes out to a lot of different platforms. Now, I didn't start out doing that. In the very beginning, I only used Spotify. But now it's YouTube, it's Apple, it's Google, it's everything that you can pretty much get your hands on for the most part. But regardless of what you do, you want to be consistent. So I send an email out, I send it through all these different channels so that those who are interested in what I have to say, because everyone has a different way of wanting to consume content. You just simply want to be consistent across your channels. All right. As you're promoting yourself, you need to make a decision. And promoting just simply means like this podcast is for BJ and what I do in engaging with Christian men and building a six-figure business coaching business. I have consistency in a strategy in how I'm going to deliver the content that I have. I have books. I have podcasts. I have blogs. I have emails. And I have every single day is a different part of what I do. You're getting this potentially in different ways, but it's all strategically done the same way at the same time. The bigger thing is you need a content strategy, even if it was sending out one email to the 10 people on your list one time per week. That is a content strategy, folks. I'm not suggesting that you have a list of 5,000 people overnight and 15 different platforms. That will never work for most people. But if you're sending out one email one time a week, and then eventually you take it to 2. Eventually you start putting it on Facebook. Perhaps one day you start making some videos. You don't need much. When I started this part of my journey, in other words, building our coaching network, we have nearly 50 Christian business coaches scattered all over the country. All right? We've been doing this about 2.5 years. When I started doing this, I had no podcast. I sent out a couple of emails per week. Did no video training. None. We just had a resource people that if they were interested in it, and then we would engage at some point, perhaps. Over a 2.5, almost 3 years now, period of time, I've increased our content strategy. What I'm telling you today, if you don't have one at all, if you are coaching, you don't have one, you need to start today. If you're aspiring to be a coach, you just need to figure out 1 or 2 things every single week that you can do consistently. That would take you maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Easy as that. And then you want to engage. I'll tell you, no doubt, in building your brand, engaging with people, because most people won't do it. Look, you want to be in the top 3%. You want to be some of the best. If you want to be the best of the best of the best, you got to do what the most people won't ever do. Rarely are they consistent. They don't want to do the hard stuff. It's really not that hard. But discipline and consistency is in the category of being hard oftentimes. Otherwise, more people would be more disciplined and more consistent, right? In life in general. But you definitely want to engage. So whether you're building your brand through meeting people at networking events, connecting with them through referrals, perhaps you go to a type of church where you might can create a group, a weekly small group that is, Christian business owners. That's I've done that for years. A great way if you're at the right place to do it that way. Right? You don't have to be at a church. You can just do it on your own if you want. But regardless, you got to begin to engage with your community. So you want to leverage platforms. I leverage Facebook. I leverage Instagram. I leverage X. I leverage YouTube. All of these, they don't cost any money to leverage. You want to develop a content strategy, even if it's just one thing per week. Great. Start somewhere. And then you want to engage with your community. And the last one is truly living out your brand. What I'm doing right now, the message that I have for you today in this podcast is just me living out my brand. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is part of my life, or this is my life. This is, it's a part of what we do. And then it's utilizing resources, websites, social media, group coaching platforms for BJ. It's leveraging it to where it's not and you're living it in authenticity. Your message, what you say, what you do, it's a part of who you are. Can't stress enough. Look, as a coach, developing a coaching business and a platform and a practice, you're not just a company. When you look at these big companies, Apple, Coca-Cola, Best Buy, Walmart, Publix, grocery store, whatever. These are companies that aren't individual people. Now, there's great people behind them. But when you're a coach, it's you. And so you must live out your brand. You can't just, blow a lot of hot air and have a message, but it not be who you really are. It doesn't work that way. I think one of the undeniable aspects about being a Christian and as a believer is that God created us to commune and to connect together. And that's one of the reasons why I believe believers, those who are Christ followers, make amazing advisors and coaches, because we are wired in the very beginning to want to be around each other. Now, I realize there might be people you don't like. I get that. And there are people that don't like you. Look, I got my enemies. That's okay. I don't mind it at all. Keeps you on your toes. But the reality is we are absolutely wired to be together. And so when you are engaging with individuals, your prospects, and you're living out your brand in authenticity of who you really are, and it's just not, and it's very evident, you're going to attract people and you will become the hunted rather than the hunter. But what happens oftentimes is, and it gets hard, it's gotten harder over the years, you see things happening on YouTube and social media and whatnot, and we begin to try to emulate what others are doing, rather than finding in us what's unique about me that I can live out, that becomes my brand, that nobody can take from me. Nobody can take what I do. Nobody can take away from me how I do it. Nobody can take away from me my message. Nobody can emulate it the way I do it. It won't happen. It won't work. People are trying it. It won't work. And that's fine. They can try. But you want to live that out in authenticity, be consistent about it all the time. This podcast gets released on the same day of every single week without fail, outside of some bizarre, massive problem. We plan ahead when we travel. That's called consistency. So that those who are interested in my message and what I have to say, it's going to be there. And largely about what I say and it's just who I am. It's not, I don't go and just, Google a message template. I bring to you what I feel that's on my heart. Did it start that way? Absolutely not. I think in this podcast, we're a year and a half in, I think we started February, March of 2022. Was I always consistent? Not in the beginning. I had to learn, just figure it out. And over time, now it's like anything else in life. It's like the back of my hand. I don't know how to think about it. But you got to start somewhere. So I want you to be thinking about your personal brand. Here are some simple steps to really think about. Okay. Number 1, your message. Number 2, your appearance. And number 3, your communication channels. Ta-da! By channels, it could be in person. If you go to a weekly group, like a BNI or a Million Cups Club or a Rotary Club, whatever, that's a channel. That is a specially designed channel to communicate. So at least that's what I consider. Maybe you don't, but I do. That's a channel. So you need to decide, this is my message. And here's a little inside scoop. If you've lasted this long on this podcast, you deserve to know more than others do. How about that? Every single thing that I do for what BJ does today as a coach of coaches, that's what I do. Every single thing that comes out of my mouth is connected back to 3 different things. You ready? Number 1, and now we're talking about you as an aspiring coach. Number 1, where do you get leads and prospects? Number 2, how do I convert those prospects into ongoing high-paying monthly clients? And the third, how am I going to coach those clients to get results in a simple step-by-step manner? And how do I take all those things together and pull faith around them? That's it. So the emails that I write, these video trainings, podcast episodes, all of them are a derivative. And of course, there's multiples of subcategories amongst all those. But there's 3 headers every single time. And so when I have a message, when I have an appearance, and I have a channel, and I begin to create content from all of those, and regardless of what I do, everything that I'm going to say is going to connect back to one of those headers. Your personal brand, guess what? It's connected to the first one. Leads and prospects, engaging with people, getting to know me, to build know, like, and trust. That's what a brand is all about. That's what a brand does. It raises your prominence. And so you can easily begin to do this where you are specifically saying, this is my message. Like for BJ, my message is I specifically help seasoned Christian men with a done-for-you six-figure business coaching practice so that you can live life on your terms. There's my message. My appearance, you kind of figured that one out. And how I'm going to do it is I'm going to coach you to results step-by-step manner in a done-for-you solution. That's what we do. And so we work that way all the time. And I've got, multiples of subcategories all the way. They all drive up to the same things of how I'm going to help you figure out your lead gen strategy, conversion strategy, and coaching strategy. You can do the same. I hope this resonates with you. I will tell you that you can have the most sophisticated structure and coaching platform under the moon. But if people don't know you, they don't like you, and if they don't trust you, none of that matters. And that's what a brand does. And I don't know that you just get a brand, you develop one, and it's kind of somewhat, it evolves to some degree. Whether you like him or not, you probably have seen Tony Robbins. And he has his Lucky brand, and he wears his hat with the Lucky Clover on it. That's brand, right? You probably have seen Grant Cardone and the whole 10X movement. He loves to be in front of planes and cars. That's his brand, right? And the list goes on and on and on. Everybody has John Maxwell. I'm a founding partner with the John Maxwell team. One of the things that I love about John that nobody can take away is his delivery, the way he speaks and communicates via in camera, especially on a stage. That's his brand. It's just who he is, but it's his brand. And while you and I may not be those big names, you may come in contact with 5 people this week, but you can make a significant impact in their life from your brand. And when they walk away, they may not be able to put words on it, but how the emotions behind how you made them feel. But it's not going to happen by accident. You have to be specific and make plans. Hope this has made sense to you. If you've been considering, as a believer, I really want to increase my impact and income and, create legacy for my family and grandkids and so on. You just don't know how to do it. You can go to businesscoachmastery.com, businesscoachmastery.com. Click on the button right there on the left-hand side or right there in the center if it's a mobile device. And we'll send you some information on what a done-for-you strategy can actually help you do in achieving your goals and dreams. Okay? Until next time. Take care.